Good morning,
Hey
folks.
David, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, I'm alive. I think I added it all up. I think it was close to 17 hours of draft coverage. It's definitely a lot of fun. So, folks, if you were there, we appreciate it. If you got to catch any little bit of it, we appreciate it. And if you're back to hear more content, we appreciate it. When David and me get together, we talk a lot about football, but we also get in a little bit of other stuff too. So if you also have comments and you got other things that you want to say, go ahead and put it in the comments, and we'll try to talk about that as well a little bit. Most importantly, we hope you brought a cup of coffee. David, thank you again, as always, for coming around and being a part of the team. And man, it's always fun to have coffee with you on the weekends. So, 49ers draft has happened. How do you feel?
Well, it's the first round pick since Trey Lance, right?
Yeah,
And you know we never know what the 49ers are actually thinking. We don't have access to their big board, their scouting. We can view who they've talked to and visited with and went and checked out and saw, and we can you do all that, and then they still end up taking, a wide receiver with the 31st overall pick that none of us knew who the guy was. I think we actually looked at him during a mock draft, right? I think you and me, when we were drafting, we looked at wide receivers and we actually looked at his bio at one point, but I believe that was once. The Rick Purcell. Slick Rick. That's what he's been dubbed by many of the Niner Empire. Brian's shaking his head.
I I mean, I know you always have to build for the future. Totally understand that. And I think we've counted him out a couple times already. I think we've had about 8 wide receivers within the Shanahan regime that they've drafted. So they like to draft wide receivers. Some years some years they double it. We've had it happen before. I just didn't know if this was necessarily the right move. But again, like you said, David, we're not there. We are not in there, and we don't know what's on their board. But I think they are very, very solid at not showing their hand. And if their hand is like not revealed, but if their guy isn't necessarily there, I think they have a really good way about not necessarily saying, "Oh yeah, that wasn't our guy." I think they have a very convenient way, or I don't necessarily have the right wording for this, but when it's not their guy and you feel confident that's not their guy, they definitely don't tell you. And that wasn't our pick. But between you, me, and everyone else, I think a first round pick, like you said, they haven't had one in so many years. Everybody's screaming offense tackle. Everybody's screaming everything, right? Everything.
Center, guard, offensive tackle. Please improve the O line. That's what That's what the drum beat's been saying all off season. Please improve the O line. And we did. Took one guy.
I think the funny people were yelling quarterback, right? I was being funny. I think the funny people were yelling running back, right? But I think the funny people were just saying that to be funny.
Remember, no third round running back. So we were either going to take him in the second or the fourth, and we ended up taking him in the fourth.
I don't think that anybody was screaming wide receiver or whispering it. I don't.
None of us were. I honestly, how many times did I pick up Christian McCaffrey at 135? Or Luke, not Christian, Luke. at 135, in the mock drafts. And he didn't even drop that far. He went to the Commanders at what, 100?
Yeah, the last pick in the third round, right? The
Man,
second round? No, third
mm,
round, right? Last pick in the
it was
third round.
but yeah, he went to the Commanders, and it was like, Now, truth be told, we won't. Oh, there's Bebop. Click on the Bebop. You see, this is something people shouldn't be doing right now. Because I've seen these very same guys give a team an A, and then 3 seasons after that draft, there's one player still left on the team, and none of the rest of them panned out. You know, so when it comes to draft grades right after the draft, what's the point? It's 100% meaningless, and we won't. Like, it makes no sense to give a draft grade on this draft until the end of 2025. So this is going to be a long time before I give a draft grade, right?
Well,
Like this year, I get to give a draft grade for 2023. The 2022 draft, I don't think we did too bad, but you know, we got this one guy with the last pick in the draft, you know, pretty much saved the whole thing. So, but at this point, you know, I mean, the 2023 class isn't looking too bad, though. You know, we got Jair Brown actually hit the field out of necessity because of injury. Granted, right? That's how our rookies have to hit the field, it seems like. And then, we had Jake Moody, a kicker, and he had a good season for a rookie kicker in the NFL. He did. If you look at what most rookie kickers in the NFL do, he had a really good season for a rookie kicker. He matched what Robbie Gould did his last year. So will we see him improve? Oh yeah. And then we got in the third round, we got this one tight end. I have kind of a special name for him because at this point we have no idea what he is or what he's going to be. And that would be Cameron LaHoo. So, then what? We took a couple linebackers, right? A corner. We got D Winters, Jalen Graham. This is all last year. I'm talking last year's draft, folks, because this year's the year that we're going to see them on the field, right, Bryant? So
yeah,
we did. We like Daryl Luter Jr. He looked fast when he was on the field playing special teams, and he's got good size. He's got good length. So he is more than likely going to be a good corner. But this year we might not use him that much. It's going to be next year after the guys hit free agency. 3 out of 4 of our starters in the defensive backfield are free agents at the end of 2024. Right? Then you got the 2 linebackers. We got D Winters, sideline to sideline speed. He's pretty quick. Got Jalen Graham. He's got the same things going on. And we didn't see him when we needed him in the Super Bowl. Who else did we pick? Robert Beal Jr. That's right, 2023. Yeah, I'm rewinding to 2023 because it's just the facts. Those are the guys we're going to see this year. And Robert Beal Jr. actually showed some flashes. I'm kind of more excited about him than any of the other rookies in 2023 because of what he showed in the Super Bowl. He was in that backfield. He was getting at Mahomes. He was getting held, but he was still getting there. So Robert Beal Jr. showed some promise and some potential. I'm actually looking forward to this next season to see the fruition of the 2023 draft. But at this point, Brian, we're here to talk about the rookies we got, right?
yeah. I mean, it is upsetting to a degree because the Niners do seem to. Every draft is a little different. and you cannot hold every draft the same as the year before. And then there has been things that's happened like injuries. It's hard to draft a quarterback as your rookie, as your number one, and trade up and give away picks and then not start that rookie. It's hard to do that if the fans and the organization want to move off of the veteran. And I think there was a degree of people in the organization that really liked Jimmy Garoppolo and was comfortable with him and players. And you had half the fan base like that. And then you had half the people in the fan base and locker room and organization who wanted to see him move off, right? We heard the rumblings already that Jimmy was their guy, but they were excited about what Trey Lance brought. They were excited about, the intangibles and the ability, that extra, right? But he broke his finger. And that derailed things a little bit. And if you go back, when we got Debo, we selected 2 wide receivers. Jalen Hurts. He
Jalen Hurd. I know who you're talking about, though.
Correct. Okay, so that's what's funny, is because Jalen Hurd was always hurt.
Yeah. So it only makes sense to call him Jalen Hurts. I know. I feel you. That's another player. That's some QB back east for one of those bird teams.
Right. But you have a injury like that kind of stunned the team at that moment, because they were trying to fill 2 positions right there, 2 wide receivers, and they were going to go in a certain direction, but that derailed everything. Brian Hoyer not being able to be the veteran quarterback and the quarterback we needed for the entire season stunned CJ Beathard's rookie season. CJ Beathard has a good arm. CJ Beathard was a good quarterback, but we didn't have a good offensive line, and that guy was getting hit every play. So then we get Jimmy Garoppolo because we couldn't make the deal, or our arrogance or ego got in the way, and Tom Brady didn't come, right?
Garoppolo, yes.
That hurt our team. And then we get Jimmy, and some people liked Jimmy and some people didn't. And it's funny. It's like they go ahead and they spend the money to sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe that's the reason they're dragging their feet on everyone else's contracts. But it doesn't seem to be helping them, because if you sign a player early, then you dictate the market, and then everybody after that gets signed to typically a higher deal. But if you wait till everybody else's contract's signed and sealed, right, then you have to pay them according to somebody who might not be as good or be, right? And now you're stuck trying to have to pay Brandon Ayuk. What is he looking at maybe getting now? It was 20. We wanted to give him maybe 24, and now he's looking at getting 30 million a season.
We wanted to give him 25, I think, somewhere around there. And then Amon St. Brown, who is another wide receiver that's an all-pro, and that is the caliber of player Ayuk is, signed for $30 million a season, 4 years, $77 million guaranteed. So that contract is what we're looking at to sign Ayuk.
And I'm sorry, David, it's just certain people look at people's size, their speed, stats, and they look at and they say that player's not worth it. You look at somebody like Terrell Owens, his size, his height, you're like, okay, I can see somebody getting paid that. You see Calvin Johnson, his size, speed. You're like, okay, I can see somebody. Who was the Cowboys? Des Bryant. You look at somebody big like him. Shannon Sharp. Now he's a tight end, but you look at that and you're like, okay, that size, you would see that would dictate, your athletic, Vernon Davis, people that are like a bigger than the position. Then you get these smaller guys out there, and like a Steven Jackson, or an Odell Beckham Jr. or somebody, Brandon Ayuk. Are they worth what that other player's getting paid? Or should be getting paid what that other player? They're not as big, they're not as fast, but they're a 49er, right? They're our player, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't agree with all of that, and I don't agree with giving players grades early. I don't really agree with it until after the player's gone and retired. The only grade that you should be getting is whether or not you got into the Hall of Fame or not. And then that goes into a totally different tangent because the Hall of Fame should depend on how you depend your contribution to your team and the sport, right? It's not all about your stats either being in the Hall of Fame, right? The Hall of Fame doesn't necessarily mean you are the statistically best player. It means you are the best player at your position on your team at that moment. Or am I wrong?
The Hall of Fame is about longevity. You know, sustained being really good for a sustained amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Like a Terrell Owens or Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young. They were really good. They were you know at the top of the league somewhere in their position for a very long time, and then you get sometimes it's a popularity contest. Like that running back for the Broncos that had a short career due to injury. Um, what was his name? I think his last name was Davis.
Terrell Davis.
There you
Terrell
go.
Davis.
There you go.
TD.
And then, you got a guy that had a longer career that was the first 1,000 guy, right? First 1,000 yard rusher, 1,000 yard receiver in NFL history. Changed the position of running back forever in the NFL. And he's on the outside looking in.
So right
So
there,
when it comes to
stats, yeah, right there, stats
yeah,
don't matter. And like you said, you just have to be good, and you don't have to be good on a team necessarily. You just have to be overall good, but you don't have to be the best. You just have to be overall good. And it kind of goes to what I said. You have to be good for your team at the time. So giving a player a grade or a draft before it's all said and done is a little silly. Like there was a tweet today that said Patrick Mahomes got a C minus when he was graded. Sure, because they're looking at what you potentially are or what you did right then in high school. They're not seeing the overall picture. No one can kind of see no one can see the picture. No one can look into the future and go from there. But
mm-hmm.
they did get some players this year, undrafted free agents. They did get some players drafted. They made some trade moves up. And whether or not we agree that we needed a wide receiver number one, we're on board. I'm on board. I'll trust the process. I'll see what happens. It just doesn't make sense that they're going to be keeping some of the players that they had last year. There's got to be competition. Players have to come in. The better players are going to make the team, hopefully, right? There shouldn't be favoritism. The better players should make the team. And regardless of your age, regardless of your friendship, the better players should make the team. And we should move forward, right? So if these new guys come in and they take some of these veteran jobs, that's the business. That's just what it is. This NFL not here for long, right? Not for long. David, what's your thoughts on Mr. Ricky Pearsall? He's from Florida.
Well,
He's
you know,
around.
at first my thoughts were extreme disappointment, you know, because I was hoping that they would take one of these offensive linemen that were just hanging out on the board, you know, and
Yeah.
ended up hanging out on the board for way too long. Like, Jackson Powers Johnson, just an example, right? And when we took him, it was like I'm sitting here looking at it like I had no idea the Niners had a first round grade on this guy. And our scouting department, shout out to them. They've done a good job. They've found guys like George Kittle and a lot of these late round picks, Dre Greenlaw, and so but in the first round, we currently have 2 first rounders that we picked still on the roster. And maybe we don't do so hot in the first round, right? But after watching the guy's tape, I'm honestly thinking that this is like the slot receiver, a replacement for possibly Juwan Jennings or maybe even a Debo Samuel type of replacement, after he leaves a couple seasons from now. And it really doesn't look like a bad pickup because I watched some tape on him. I've spent some time doing it. And he looks pretty good. According to a lot of the scouting websites, they had a late second, early third round grade on the guy. But our 49ers obviously had a first round grade on him because they took him. And John Lynch said there were 22 players with first round grades. So, at the point we were at 31, were 21 of those players already gone, right? And he could have been the only guy left. This is for all we know, though, right? We don't know. I wish they would actually, after the draft is over, let the list out on the internet and let us look it over and go pick it apart. But that's never going to happen, right?
No, it's not, because they're not going to tell you, oh, we really like this player. Because if they say it now, then they can't come out years later and say, well, we really like Sam Darnold. We've always liked Sam Darnold. We've always liked Sean Watson. We've always liked so-and-so, but it just didn't fall to us, right? The cards didn't fall to us. So I'm really excited about Ricky Parcell, whether or not he's a Debo replacement or a Brandon Ayuk replacement. It seems like, I don't know, maybe everybody's off, and I'm not going to say everybody because I like Debo. I'm not going to say I don't like BA, but I don't think you can replace Debo. I think BA can be replaced. I think he's a great wide receiver. I don't think he's worth $30 million. I don't think anybody's worth $30 million. I really don't, but that's not my choice, and I'm not the owner, I'm not the GM, and I am not the coach. So I am going to trust the process, and whether or not they want to sign him or not. But it just doesn't make any sense that you go and draft 2 wide receivers this year if you're sold on paying BA, or you're sold on keeping Debo, these 2 players that you've signed an enormous contract to. So I am just, again, some players, you obviously can see it fits. It's square. It goes into the square hole, right? It's round. It's round. It should go into the round hole, right? It's about building blocks. And, you learn this when you're a toddler, right? Sometimes you want the really tall guy and the really fast guy. You don't want the shorter guy who's going to be covered by someone who's taller. And what kind of happened in the Super Bowl? Did BA go off in the Super Bowl? So I don't know. I'm not going to say BA played bad in the Super Bowl, but we definitely didn't see him have a remarkable, memorable moment. So if they choose to keep him, hey, that's great. If they choose to move off, but again, it just doesn't make any sense that they're going 2 wide receivers in this draft. And if you're going to cut a wide receiver, I guess it makes sense. Why sign Jerry Rice's son? Why sign? Let's go to Christian McCaffrey's brother. Why sign him? We like those guys, right? So if they're going to get cut, we don't want to make them upset. But do we really like Terrell Owens, David? So are we going to cut his son? That's the 3rd wide receiver that we got in this draft. So are we going to sign Terrell Owens, the guy whose attitude caused
Tariq Owens, yes.
But the guy whose attitude caused our team to go into a downward spin in the 2000s, the 2003, 4, 5 season that really stemmed from his relationship with Jeff Garcia. But because he came to the training day, the pro day with his son, who came to the pro, who was trying to make a spot for his team. And, he shows up like a good dad, which I admire, right? I'd want my dad to be at the pro day too and trying to nudge his former team on and say, hey, take a look at my kid. So you're telling me we passed up Jerry Rice and McCaffrey for T.O.'s son, And Brandon Ayuk, Devo, and all of our other 8 wide receivers that we've drafted in the past are still going to make the team. And we got room for 2 more wide receivers coming in this draft. I'm going to trust the process, David, but it just doesn't make sense. Square hole, right?
Yeah, round stick, square hole. I get what you're saying, buddy. I get what you're saying. You cannot. So pretty much, we have 3 wide receivers. They're set. Their place is here. We have, and granted, Brandon Ayuk still hasn't signed his contract, and there's still going to be trade speculation floating around, right? Especially with us drafting 2 wide receivers. Let's be honest, that's probably going to make it worse. But so we have Brandon Ayuk, we have Deebo Samuel, we have Juwan Jennings. There's our top 3 wide receivers, right? Then we drafted in the first round Slick Rick Purcell, and then we drafted, what was it, Cowing? I don't remember the wee little guy's name, first name. But he's 5'8". He's 168 pounds.
Jacob Cowing from Arizona. We picked him 135.
There we go. So that's the other wide receiver we picked. And granted, he's not guaranteed to make the team. At this point, we have 4 wide receivers. I mean, they're going to give the first round pick the benefit of the doubt. So that's 4 wide receiver spots taken right now. And then we have Jacob Cowing, which, no block, no rock. How's a 5'8", 168-pound guy going to block a 6'2", 200-plus pound defensive back? I don't know. We'll just have to see how that works out, right? But then you got a guy like Danny Gray, who's 6 foot, is heavier than Jacob Cowing, and runs faster. But he's looking like he's on his way out because he's been here a couple of years and we ain't seen much out of him. Last year, Kyle said we don't have a spot for him on the team at this point. So then we got Ronnie Bell, who looked really good in preseason. He was tearing it up in preseason. And then, during the regular season, made a couple good catches. We were starting to put him in a punt returner, but that's something our first round pick and Jacob Cowing, the wee little guy, that's something they did. They did punt returning. So, we only have 6 spots. They typically keep 6. So that's wide receiver number 7 at this point, Ronnie Bell. Then we got Trent Taylor. They re-signed him. He always does fantastic in OTAs and preseason. He'll make the squad, but then where's he at? And, the first couple seasons he was with us, we were depraved at wide receiver, so he did see a lot of time. But then we started getting good wide receivers, and his playing time dwindled, and we just didn't re-sign him. So, here we are. We're at number 8. Then we got Tay Martin, who's typically a special teamer, right? And then we got, who else? Chris Conley. We're at number 10. And then number 11, we have Terrell Owens' son, Tariq Owens. There's only 6 spots. And the way I'm looking at it, there are 4 spots set in stone right now. So we have, 7 guys competing for 2 spots. Right?
So I want to say 2 things. The entire time we've been here and we've been doing things, you and me have both said to trust the process because we believe in the 49ers. You don't have to trust the process. So let's get that straight. You do not have to trust the process. I like to say I trust the process because I do not typically do not disagree or argue with the direction or the decisions made by the team because, again, I don't coach, work, or paid or have any bearing on the decisions that's made. Even a season ticket holder does not truly have any decisions that's made. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm smarter than anyone or say that, they should have done this or would have done this. But I also am smart enough to have an opinion of my own. And this is why we're talking. And if I am clever enough to say, well, maybe they could have done this, or I can see some of the writings and say, maybe this just doesn't make any sense. And maybe if I'm smart enough to have a discussion with somebody like you, David, who maybe we can both figure this out, then yes. Is it something to be laughing out loud? Maybe. Is it something to have a lot of fun? Sure. Is it worth talking about? Yes, because maybe just maybe the coaches or somebody else in the organization is going to sit back and say, yeah, maybe it didn't make sense. And maybe we need to relook at this. Maybe enough people will have a conversation like this right here, David, and they'll say, hey, we don't want to see planes being flown over the stadium anymore. Let's start thinking about this. How many wide receivers did you just say again? 11. And I know we sometimes have
11.
12. We have about 12 for preseason, training camp, camp body guys, right? And I think some of them get stashed, like you're saying, special teams, and some guys get stashed here and there because they are forced to play both ways. They are forced to do things that not typically the starters or the legacy players or the players that are drafted in the first round are going to do. So again, when you put the tender of a first round on somebody, you are obviously at that point saying, this guy we believe is athletic and he is going to take us over the top. We believe in him. And that's why they can justify paying somebody like Sam Darnold $8-point-something million guaranteed because he was drafted in the round. But if somebody like Brock Purdy is to go or get cut or walk somewhere, they're going to look back at him and say, you were drafted in the 7th round. You look at somebody like Juwan Jennings. He was drafted in the 7th round. So what is his limitations? You're in the 7th round. You're in the 7th round for a reason. Now, you might be a diamond in the rough, but when we go back and we look at your resume, and your resume is what you are drafted for, these are your credentials, these are your stats, your vitals, everything. This is what's saying, this is what we're going to pay you. And this is why we're going to pay you this, because you can't run this faster. You can't do this. Now, you're a gamer. You get into the game and you do this and that. Well, you've done it on that team. It doesn't mean that you're a gamer for every team. It doesn't mean you're going to be a fit for every team. So when you do something for another team, okay, then maybe that will justify you getting paid. But you're going to have to play a whole nother season before they give you another contract. So when you have somebody who's drafted in the 7th round, they don't get the 5 years. They don't get the 4 years. They get 1 year. They get, and it goes from there like that. That's why some players are being signed for less money and other players are being signed for higher, because when they ran in the underwear Olympics for the draft, their scouting combine, they ran faster than everybody else. They threw the football further than anybody else. They kicked it further than anybody else. So these scouts, right, who are all there at one time, say, that's the guy, man, this is really easy. I'm so glad they're all here in one building and I don't have to go all over state, all over the nation and actually sit in bleachers and watch these guys. They're doing that too. But when you got all the guys in one house, it sure does make it a little bit easier to see what players are going where and where they're going. So
I hope Tony's got the pin pulled on the fire extinguisher right now, Brian, because you're ablaze, buddy. You're on fire.
I'm having a lot of
sure. It's all good, Beto. It's all good, Beto. It's kind of weird the whole how we actually do it, because Kyle will take a guy and then season or two later he'll cut him. He don't care about your draft stock, where you've actually sat. It seems like it just doesn't matter to us. And I looked at Ronnie Bell, like he has some serious potential moving forward. And he absorbed the playbook in off-season workouts and OTAs, and in preseason he just tore it up. And now here we are, we have 2 wide receivers. One of them's a 4th round guy. One's a 1st round guy, which they're going to give them the benefit of the doubt though in that 1st round. So he's going to be here. Like our draft picks, typically they get the benefit of the doubt for a season or 2, right? But after that 2nd season, if Kyle doesn't see what he wants to see, they're goners, right? So here we are. We got Danny Gray, literally the fastest guy on the team. He runs a 4.33 40, faster than Cowing. Cowing had a 4.38, and this is his he's been with us 2 seasons. So this is the off season or the preseason that he will more than likely not make the team and get cut. Should we have done the right thing yesterday, though, and traded him for a late round pick and took a flyer on the guy? I honestly think so. Versus let's make all these guys compete and get absolutely nothing out of them.
How can you justify trading a player who you haven't played on your team? Why can you even ask for anything out of it when you're not willing to play the player? Just cut him and let him go.
Thing too.
If you really want to do right by the player, you cut him and you let him go to free agency, and you do it. You do it a month ago when these guys were able to go to free agency. But you're trying to hold on to draft capital, and it's not right because you're doing what? You're holding on to a player in a player's life in the beginning of his career that he could be somewhere else, learning a playbook somewhere else and getting adjusted into a different culture, climate, all of that, and you're holding him up because you want compensation. You made the wrong pick. Just let the guy go. Just let the guy go. It's
like Ambry Thomas. There were, remember that report, right? Earlier in the offseason that Ambry Thomas, Elijah Mitchell, and Danny Gray were on the trade block. Well, we didn't see him get traded, so that doesn't show you how real that report is, right? And it just seems like, and Gray is worth a leftover popsicle stick. Shout out to Tommy Huxley. That's what Tommy Huxley said. But, at this point, he hasn't done anything but do really good as a gunner on special teams. You remember his rookie season? Late in his rookie season, he was our best gunner on special teams. He was contributing in any way he could. And then he got injured, during preseason last season, and he came back halfway through the season, and Kyle's like, well, there's no real spot for him on the team. So now the guy's got to fight for his football life just to make the squad. And he's got to beat out a guy named Ronnie Bell who showed up in preseason last year and earned that roster spot. He's got to beat out a first-round pick. Well, not necessarily beat out, but he's got to compete with a first-round pick rookie and a fourth-round pick rookie that are going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're rookies. They haven't been with us very long, right? So, it's like it just sucks to see us wasting a third-round pick when that's typically the area that good guards and centers are coming off the board, right? And, this is what, 2022 draft when we took him, wasn't it? It was 2022 when we took him. So, and here we are, years later, what have we got to show for that third round pick? Yeah, a lot of folks do say trust the process, and you can trust the process, but at the same time, you're not going to hit on every draft pick, right, Bryant?
No, you definitely not.
You're definitely not going to hit on every draft pick. No. If you can hit on half, if not a hair more than half, you're really good. And will Jacob Cowing, the little guy, and I keep calling him a little guy because honestly, folks, I'm an inch taller than him and I got 20 pounds on the guy, but is he actually going to make the team? We don't know.
So, right? Danny Gray was 2022. That's when we drafted him, and we drafted him in the third round. We go for this guy, Ricky Pearsall, and like we said, he's fighting for a roster spot, and he's a first rounder. But shouldn't that be what every player is doing? Even the veterans, every year they should be fighting for a roster spot. Even if you got Joe Montana out there, you had Steve Young, somebody pushing him for his roster spot, pushing him for his starting position. So when you get to a player and they become complacent and they don't want to, they feel like they don't have anything behind them pushing them, then dude, they try as hard? Are they going the extra mile? If they drop the pass, are they worried that the coach isn't going to throw them the ball again? I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I don't really agree with that so much. But let's move on. Okay, so we moved to cornerback. We got Renardo Green. Cornerback. This is another position people thought we might have taken in the first round, or an offensive tackle, right? And we didn't want just an offensive tackle, right? We wanted a what? A replacement for our guy, right? Trent Williams. But we wanted somebody who could play on the right side. So we wanted a gadget player, right? We didn't want a true right tackle, right? We wanted somebody who could play. So what did we do? We went and got Pooney. Everybody needs a little bit of Pooney in their life, right? But David, when I'm looking at it, it doesn't say his position. It doesn't say he's a left tackle or right tackle. It says he plays the offensive line. It sounds like we got another guard.
And he actually played, I believe he has spent time at left tackle, right tackle, guard. I don't know if he's played center. That's something I'm not sure about.
I don't think he played center either, but he probably can, because it sounds
he probably did at some point. He probably did. But but you know what? I'm with the competition. You know, you remember me years ago saying, well, maybe years ago, last year I was screaming it. There should be an open competition for the starting spot at every position every off season. That's how Bill Walsh used to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we should do it. You know, so what if we got Debo signed to a monster contract? He's got to earn that spot, you know. And that's literally how it should be every year. But right now, you know, we did with Pooney. I actually watched a lot of tape on him, and he looks pretty good, actually. You know, he had a few penalty issues, but that's something that can be coached up, right? So that's on Chris Forrester to fix. You got to fix that, right? And he can play tackle, guard, wherever we need him. Could he be the Daniel Brunskill of the future? Yes, he possibly could be. Could he be our right tackle when Trent Williams retires and we move McKivitz over to left tackle, which is kind of scary? Yes, he could be.
That's all great. I just want to know, does he have the winning lottery numbers? You know, because if he's got the winning lottery numbers, then we're all set, right? Now we went ahead and we got a safety. And Tommy Huxley brings up a good point, and maybe you're the better guy to give the analogy. What's the difference between a free safety and a strong safety, David? Because it sounds like Malik Mustafa, somebody we drafted in one of our mocks a couple times. Sounds like he's a strong safety. Well, so do we need a free safety?
Our defense, I've watched a lot of our defense, and I don't think that we have a designated strong safety. But that would be kind of what Hufanga does. He comes up and he plays in the box, right? Kind of an extra linebacker, right? But honestly, we have kind of a hybrid safeties in our defensive system. So we need safeties that could be interchangeable. But, you know, Mustafa, he's a guy we actually met with a couple times. Good player. And, you know, in the box and plays the run really, really well, right? Tackles really well. So, you know, he fits the mold of the people we like at safety, right? So, you know, this next season, I'm still waiting on the report that Hufanga will be back for preseason and OTAs. I haven't heard a word about that.
Yeah, I think we're going to be waiting a little bit.
That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary, buddy.
I don't think they want to tell us. All right, so folks, we didn't get a running back in the third round, so everybody keep your pants on and don't set the house on fire. But we got one in the fourth round. It wasn't Frank Gore Jr. because we don't want to cut him, right? We don't want to make his dad mad. We don't care about Terrell Owens. But we don't want to make Gore or Rice or McCaffrey mad. But Owens, we'll see, right? All right, so we got this guy, Isaac Guerrero.
Gerardo.
Okay, and he's from Louisville, so I like him already. He's a Cardinal. If you guys know anything about Kentucky, the Cardinals are a good football team, good program. We got him at pick 129. We'll see what happens. Now, this is the one that I think a lot of us got upset with, because if they're going to give anybody a roster position, I mean, if they're just giving away positions, David, can I get in? Because I'm about 160 pounds, and I might be a second slower than this guy, but I got a lot of heart, David. And you know what? I wear these glasses, they help me see things, and I got these hands, so sometimes I catch things. Okay, and I think I'd be a little bit cheaper. Okay, again, if they're just giving away roster spots. So this guy, Jacob Cowing from Arizona, weighs about 160 pounds. He's fast.
Arizona State. What wasn't it? Arizona State. What was it? What was his college?
From Arizona. I think he's from the same state as BA. I think he's BA's.
Well, that's Ricky Purcell was from the same college. I know that.
Well, Ricky went to Florida.
Slick Rick.
Yeah, he went to Florida, and I think BA knows him as well. So this is getting a little weird. We're getting all these Arizona people. Are we becoming the 49ers of Arizona, or the I just don't understand it. But again, if they're going to give away positions, and this guy truly makes the spot, if he makes the team at 160 pounds, David, I don't know. Maybe I really do need to start warming up and start. I'm gonna go try out.
It's like I'm saying, if he makes it through a week of practice, that alone is going to be a miracle. You know how hard Kyle is on these guys in practice. Hargrave actually spoke on it. You know, he said that the Niner practices are way harder than what the Philadelphia Eagles do. And it's like, you know, more intense. This is why we, you know, hear reports about fights and all this other junk. You know, guys they're going hard at it. And this guy's going to, if he can make it through a week of practice, he might be able to make it through a season.
I've heard that. And then I've also heard other players say that we do practice all wrong. And maybe it's the players that leave our team and go to Kansas City. I've heard that a couple times. And it just seems a little weird that we keep getting these significant injuries and we don't have Trent Baalke around anymore. So we're not drafting these players with these major injuries anymore, right? And we're still having them. So I maybe it's something in the water over there, David. Okay, so we traded all of our fifth rounds. We're out of the fifth round. Thank you, guys. It was really exciting. Really, really exciting for a long period of time there. We finally got some action in the fifth round. And we pick up a offensive lineman. David, did we pick up a right tackle or a left tackle?
No, he's a guard.
He's a guard.
Guard slash center. Slash center.
No. He's a good
USC.
one. That's why he's got the G, right? Because he's a good guard, right? He's a good offensive lineman slash center. And he came from USC, so he's not going to have to drive very far to get up, he's in California already. Just drive up state. And he played for he blocked for a really good quarterback right there too. But again, we are all screaming, tackle, tackle, tackle. They give us some guards. You get a guard, and you get a guard, and you get a guard. All right. So we got guards for years, right? We won't need a guard for what, until 2028, right? We got enough guards to go around. And then we go for a linebacker. And David, this is the pick. I think if he would have been there, I think we would have taken him. I think we truly would have taken Devin Culp at 251 if he would have been there. But he got drafted. Congratulations. Went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll see how that goes. Congratulations. But I really think, because we are getting close. We are getting really close. So give everybody a recap real quick. We got a wide receiver, a cornerback, an offensive lineman. Can't say he's a tackle. We got a safety. We got a running back, a wide receiver, two wide receivers. We got a guard, Well, we could call him an offensive lineman. That's a little bit nicer, right? And then we'll call it a linebacker. Now, the day's not over, folks. It's not over. We got some undrafted free agents as well. And this is where it gets fun. We pick up a running back, David, from Missouri, Cody Schrader. So we have 2 running backs now. Yep. We have CMC. We have Mitchell. We have Jordan. Right? We had TDP.
Well, he's no longer with us. Well, he was on our practice squad. I don't know.
We had Mickle.
He signed with the Eagles.
Yeah.
That's right.
So now we have 2 new running backs, 2 fresh running backs. Okay. Now we go ahead and get a center, Drake Nugent from Michigan. Well, Michigan guys, man, those guys are going. Michigan, Washington guys, and Florida State guys. Those seem to be the people that everybody wanted this draft. Defensive lineman, we got Evan Anderson from FAU. I believe that stands for Florida Athletic University. If I'm correct. If I'm wrong, please help me in the chat, folks.
Yeah, he's 6 foot. Okay. I've seen a report saying he's 356, but I think that was a typo because it's 326. But either way, he's not that fast. He runs a 5.3 40. I've done research because I like me some short, stout linemen, and he's hard to move. You're going to have to put 2 offensive linemen on him to get any traction, and that might not even get you anywhere. But he's got a very quick burst. Reminds me a lot of DJ Jones, but more weight. DJ Jones was about 6 foot, 300. This guy's got a little bit of weight on DJ Jones. But, I don't know if he's going to make the squad or not, but I like them. I like the fact that they take a nose tackle type that is very stout against the run.
We'll have to see about him. We will definitely have to see about him. Evan Anderson, defensive lineman. Right when Tommy said we didn't take a defensive lineman, we got a undrafted free agent. He is our future. All right. So we have a tight end. It's not the tight end I wanted, but this is why I really think we would have taken Devin Culp, because we did get one undrafted free agent. So we took 2, I think, last year, and then we drafted 2 tight ends last year. So we had a total of 4, if I was correct. But I got to go back and look at my stat numbers and my records. But we'll go from there. Right now, his name's Mason Pline, and he's from Furman. So we have to do some studying up on him and find out a little bit more about him. Again, you got to trust the process. If you want to, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I like to trust the process, because if they say that's the guy, then I want to get behind him and I want to root for him. I want to believe in him until they give me reason not to believe in him, right? So, David, they did take a quarterback. Did you hear about the quarterback they took? He's from Wisconsin. His name is Tanner Mordecai.
Go ahead.
His name is Tanner Mordecai, and this guy is he's just a guy. And this is where, again, if they're just giving out positions to people, then where do I sign up? What do I have to do? I mean, I can be there. I'm really close, I can be there on time. I can be there early. I'm willing to work late. You don't have to give me keys, but if you want to, I'll lock up. So we'll see how this guy goes, because again, we have the passer not, and we have our veteran backup quarterback, our career backup quarterback from Cincinnati, Duck Allen. And we're going to move on. This is our 3rd wide receiver, folks. 3rd wide receiver. He's undrafted. I don't think it's going to hurt anyone's feelings if we cut him. Tyreek Owens from Missouri State. He might be the guy. He could surprise a lot of people. And if they do sign him, I guarantee he'll sell more jerseys than anyone can really imagine, because people will see Owens and then they'll see Owens again. And the crazy thing is, that they give him 81, they might break the internet, David. They might truly break the internet.
They really might. You're not lying. So, what are his measurables? Isn't he like 6'3", 200 plus?
He's like his
Do you have
dad.
that?
I can pull that up right now. He's like his dad. He's a big guy. He's somebody
I
that you
mean,
would think
you
would
know
have
that
been
tight
higher.
end,
Mm-hmm.
6'7", pushing 260 pounds. That guy's that's a big tight end. That's a big target. Um, Duck Allen.
Duck Allen, gotta love him. Okay, so Mr. Owens, Tyreek Owens, is 6'3", 193. That's pretty big though. It's bigger than 160 pounds. That's a lot heavier, right? I really
Yeah.
don't care. I don't really care how fast you run if if they can tackle you by just pushing you with, if wind can knock you over. I don't know, David. When I played freshman football, all the guys were bigger than me. I was one of the smaller guys. I'm out of high school now, and I look at the freshman football team, and they're still all bigger than me. But if they're signing people that's my size to the 49ers, I don't know what to do, man. Maybe I'm gonna stop painting walls. I'm gonna start running laps. I'm gonna start training. I'm gonna get me I tell you what. I tell you what, folks. It's gonna be Bryant Culp next year on the 49ers. You heard it here first. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Jalen Mahoney. He's our next player. He's a defensive back that we drafted, undrafted free agent from Vanderbilt. He's we're all worried about corners right now, David. We are all worried about corners, and if I'm correct, we only got one. We got
Well,
us one.
it was such a huge need because we have no corners on the roster already. I'm just breaking the sarcasm meter today, buddy. So were you. You know.
So we got one corner that we drafted, and we got a second drafted. And this is again our thoughts for the future, right? Because we don't know how long we're going to have the guys that we have right now, and I believe we have them for one or maybe two more seasons, and we got to figure out their contracts. So if these guys can step up even in practice, even in training camp or something, and we want to redshirt them because, like you said, and I've said several times, we don't seem to play our rookies. So we redshirt these guys, and then boom, maybe next year, maybe these are our guys that are going to come out next year. And then our last guy, shout out again. They tried really, really hard. They did not necessarily hear, so maybe we got to get a little louder. Maybe we do need to fly some planes over Levi's, David. They drafted another offensive lineman, undrafted, free agent, Brayson Mays from Mississippi. Hey, I'm not mad at the pick. But when you write down offensive lineman and you don't designate that he's a tackle, guard, center, I don't know what we're doing here. We're just getting people who can play any position. If you can play any position, because you're good at all of them, would you be good at just one? Can you do one thing right? And I'm not saying you can't do one thing right, but if you're really good at one thing, how good can you be? But if you're great at everything, right? Are you really good at anything?
Well, no. Now remember, we had a guy named Daniel Brunskill. Remember, he was the jack of all trades. On the offensive line, maybe the master of none, but he was still pretty good at it.
I got his jersey in here, right here,
and it's like, and ever since he left, it seems like we're searching for that guy. And we drafted Dominique Pooney, who played a lot of offensive tackle in college, and like Spencer Burford, we might just kick him to guard, right? But he's more athletic, and with his size and a little more strength, he could play the left side. Typically on the right side, we like the smaller athletic guys because of our jet sweeps and all the, those type of plays that we run, right? And that's these undrafted guys are these smaller athletic guys that we like to play on the right side. Like, the guy we took in the 7th round, Kingston, the USC guy, he's the same way. He's kind of smaller, athletic, the type of guy we play on the right side. So I think we're trying to find solutions for that right side, but I don't think they're going to be ready this year. I'm going to say that right now. It's going to be Brendel, Burford, and McKivitz. It's going to be Banks and Trent Williams, or it could be Feliciano on the right side, and Burford could be our, utility knife, the Swiss Army knife offensive lineman for the season. Who knows, right?
You know why, David? You know why we're going to run it back with the same offensive lineman that we had from the Super Bowl last season?
Why?
It's the same reason that you don't go and tell a wide receiver to just go sit down. If you throw the ball to a wide receiver and it hits their hands and they don't catch it, you got to throw the ball back to them eventually. If you don't, then just cut them right then. If an offensive lineman makes a mistake on the line or he forgets an assignment, at a certain point you have to think, they're human. They made a mistake. Look how far they got us to this point. And that's what they're doing. They're giving them a benefit of the doubt and hoping that experience will pay off. And if these guys would have won the Super Bowl last year and they back to back this year and they was to win it this year, look out. Then everybody would be saying these offensive lineman guys are great. They're maulers. They play really well. It's about the scheme. It's about the fit. It's about them coming together and knowing where the other one's going to be at and what they're supposed to do. So maybe it's a little bit more hard and maybe more complicated than we think learning the offense. There's a lot of moving components, guards and tackles, and maybe guards have to, in the middle of the play, David, like quarterback's back there, he's in shotgun, and he hits hike, says it right because we don't have the controller, so he says hike, ball snaps to him, right, and you got your right tackle over there turning into a guard. And he's got to move over to the guard position. But the right tackle needs to move to the center spot, right? Because we're transformers out there, right? This is such a complicated system. So, again, I think it goes back to, if a wide receiver drops the ball, you kind of have to go back to him unless you're Carlos Hyde. We didn't go back to Carlos Hyde when he dropped the ball, but that's a running back, right? You remember that play? It was like at the end of the season, they threw the ball to Carlos Hyde in the end zone. He dropped the ball. And I think that was it. That was it for Carlos Hyde and the 49ers. So, folks, I guess, what can you say? Trust the process. Don't get too mad if somebody makes a mistake. There's always next time until there isn't. David, how do you feel overall with the whole draft? How's the whole draft and undrafted free agents? It was a long, grueling 3 days, but we survived. But how do you feel?
Well, at the end, it's all about making the roster better, and keeping sustained talent for a long period of time so we can be competitive. And being, but we're the 49ers, though. We're not about just, being competitive every year. You got to win a Super Bowl at some point. But at this point, I do most of the picks I like, and I'm talking about for 2025 because let's face it, I honestly think Pooney might be the only guy that gets a chance to play this year. And that's if he shows up to camp with an extra 7 pounds on him, maybe a little stronger. And he will compete on that offensive line. Maybe he gets a spot, but he's a rookie. So the chances of that happening are pretty slim. We'll see these guys in 2025, folks. Hurry up and wait.
Well, David, thank you again. I think it's been a great show. I hope everybody enjoyed the little rant. We did go through and talk about our new guys. We didn't give you the stats as much, but we give you a little bit of our thoughts on the players. They all are great players, great picks. The Niners did do their stats. They did their work. They did their scouting, and they did their homework. Now we just gotta wait to see what it looks like on field, on the paper, in practice, in the game. David, thank you very much for being there with me during the draft. Folks, if you guys didn't know, we drafted all 3 days, streamed them to all of our channels. We had some friends along the way, and hopefully we met a couple new ones. If you guys haven't seen them, maybe go check them out. The first day, you can draft, rewind all the way to, or fast forward all the way to the end to see our reactions. I think it would be, I want to say it's like 4:45 or around there. 4 hours and 45 minutes. we drafted for the entire time we streamed. It was a lot of fun. And folks, appreciate you guys always for coming. Hopefully you're able to enjoy a cup of coffee with us. We will be back again here soon. I think we're doing Coast to Coast tomorrow on my show, if I'm correct. So boy, that's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be going from there. Trivia on Wednesdays with David, and Fridays we'll be doing a show here again. Hopefully have a great guest on. Saturday and Sunday back again with Coffee Talk. Folks, thank you so much for coming around and being a part of the community. And hopefully, again, we made some friends along the way. David, would you like to say anything before we get out of the way? Get out of the way and let someone else get back in here.
Well, here we go. Another season, another preseason's coming upon us. OTAs, more contract extension talks, more. Watch out for that speculation train, folks. It's got no brakes. But we're about to see the 2023 draft class. The rest of them, other than, Jake Moody and Jair Brown. We're about to see the rest of them this next season. I'm kind of excited for that. But, as Corey Davis would say, go 49ers and F all 31 other teams.
All right, folks. We're out of here. You go enjoy your weekend. We're going to do the same. Go Niners.